All right. All right. I am going to review The Green Knight finally. I was I got out of work a little bit earlier than expected. And, they've been advertising this movie heavily. And I'm a big sucker for anything King Arthur, Excalibur. I'm totally there. I'm a big fan of Excalibur by John Boorman. And I'll watch almost anything King Arthur in it. Maybe even Merlin-ish kind of shows. And yeah, I was kind of taken in by the whole thing. I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't so sure about the casting of the lead. Um, I wasn't sure about that. That was pretty much the only thing I was kind of unsure of. But when I went in there, started watching, probably within the first 10 minutes, I went with it. And I'm like, okay, he's good. He's good. Um, he plays a very, well, he plays one of the knights, Gawain, and he plays a good flawed character. He's not actually, I guess he's not a knight in the beginning, but it's his quest to become a knight. And before you go into the movie or after the movie, maybe do it after. If you're not familiar with the Green Knight tale, I would check it out, just because there's some things that happen in this movie where you're like, huh? That's out of nowhere. Like, I don't get it. And so I would definitely recommend checking out the tale probably after the movie. That way the movie's more of a surprise, what happens, and it's not spoiled. But the more I think about this movie, the more I enjoyed my experience. And I have not had an experience like that in the movies in quite some time, where things aren't predictable. You don't know what's coming around the corner. It's kind of much like exploring a Dungeons and Dragons world in the wilderness, and you're not quite sure what's going to happen next when you encounter something. Is it going to be an enemy? This interaction with this thing or this person, is it going to be bad, good, in between? So it's great that way, and you do feel like you're on a journey. And that's one of the things that this movie emphasizes. I don't even know if I still said that right. Emphasizes, there we go, is the process of going from point A to point B and everything in between, that experience, and the choices that someone makes to become someone worthy of honor and respect, such as being a knight of the Round Table. And I'm glad this movie got made. A23 has been making some crazy movies. I just watched The Lighthouse, which is very much in the vein of Call of Cthulhu, a madness kind of film, which I expected it to be. And that's a whole nother review. This guy did the movie The Witch, and although there are some great shots in The Witch and there's some good production value there, it feels authentic. And I just felt like the ending didn't live up to the hype of the overall story. And so I was really disappointed at the ending of that movie. This one is different. This one's a little bit different. And there's going to be some spoilers in this movie. So yeah, well, first of all, one of the things I noticed in the beginning of the movie, well, the locations are great. Okay, it's shot seem at least outside sets, or it seemed to be like a real castle. And I'm not sure about the interiors, but some of the interiors look really good. There's a lot of very minimal lighting, um, and it pulls it off. It pulls it off beautifully. The cinematographer and the director. And there's a lot. There's a couple against the uh, it's against the, I'll just say, the type, the racial type, because we are dealing with characters, that are, of the British, persuasion of that type. And there's Morgan Le Fay is against that type as far as casting. Again, she does a great job. She does a great job. But it is what it is, and they all deliver. And yeah, I enjoyed this movie. I wasn't sure about it at the end of it. I wasn't sure. And because I thought, again, like much like The Witch, I thought maybe the director was trying to get away with something or be a little too pretentious. And there's certainly there's a scene there where where the guy that that he's staying at this person's place, and his wife, and it's a challenge of virtue or whatever, where she tempts him, and they kiss and everything. And well, I'll get to that later in the review. But he leaves the next day, and the guy's like, well, are you forgetting something? Are you forgetting and he comes up, and he kisses the guy, our main, Gawain or whatever. And I'm like, what is that about? And I'm like, maybe they're trying to just, that seemed really weird and out of nowhere. But then I went home and I read up on the whole tale from beginning to end. I had known about the basic premise of the tale, but not the whole thing. And the thing is, it's like, well, do you basically, if I guess it's like if you stay at somebody's place and the wife or something comes on to you, then that guy has to return the favor and kiss you as well. It's a weird thing in the tale, and I recommend just go check it out. It's hard to, it has to do with like, hey, whatever I give you, you have to give back or whatever. It's again, it's a weird part of the tale, but it's in there, and okay, that is what is. The ending, well, I'll get to the ending a bit later. I'll make that the last part of this. Everything leading up to it. It's Christmas time, but it's funny to see anything that takes place during Christmas where there's no Christmas decorations at all, like none, as far as I know. At least if they're there, they're very subtle. The casting's fantastic. I liked the I like the guy that plays King Arthur. He's known for playing villains, but the casting is, and Guinevere. The casting was kind of like, oh, the older woman from Game of Thrones. I'm like, I don't know. That was kind of an odd choice, but I think he's going for a certain tone that these actors bring into this film, and I was okay with that. again, everyone showed up, everyone punched the time clock, they did the job, and there he goes on a quest, and he gets, he gets kind of, it's like a test of kind of like niceness. Like he goes and he gets directions from somebody that needs, it's kind of poor, and he doesn't give him, money or anything, and until the guy says, hey, can you spare some change, and then, oh yeah, and he gives him like maybe a gold piece or a silver piece or whatever. But then he gets mugged and tied up, and you know um yeah, there's a lot of neat little subtle, like, just things that happen in it that are very stretched out, and he really shows you under like a microscope of the struggle of this man. And so much so where you really don't know where it's really going. There's a neat part where he meets a ghost. I won't spoil too much of that, but yeah, that was done really well. There's a lot of surreal imagery in it, things that happen that are magical in nature, and there's a whole thing with this a fox in the movie, where he meets it, and I guess it's kind of like a crossroads. It's when things get a little bit more surreal and magical, and it's neat. It's well done. And when the fox ends up talking, it's kind of like another crossroads in the film. And there's definitely very much a Last Temptation of Christ thing going on here, where there's that what if this happened, and they show you a whole lifetime or years of an alternate, this is spoilers, an alternate life happening if he didn't make that choice. And that was good. It still works. I guess that's a good plot, story device that works well. There's a scene with the giants, and the giants, they're like giant naked women, so it's a little bit different. It's a different twist on the giant. I guess the giant trope, and it's neat. It's done interesting, and I kind of wish he expanded on that a little bit more. Like, where are all the men giants, or where are they going? And there's a lot of things that are left up to interpretation. In the beginning of the movie, there's a line about wonder, and it's good. I really like that. I agree with that. The only thing I kind of wish there's some more things in it, to some more out of nowhere things that he could have added, or some wondrous things. But I'm still okay with it. There's you have to have some patience with this movie, but I think it grows on you because there's a lot of atmosphere. The music is top notch. I love the music, and he does some things with the titles and throughout the first, almost throughout the whole movie, but throughout the first 20 to 30 minutes, there's a lot of, see the text, and it's in old English, and everything. It feels kind of like kind of a commercial music video thing to it, with the type being so big and overlapping over everything. But again, that's not that big of a deal. It's not a deal breaker for me. But yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I liked the twist at the end, where, this is big spoilers, he decides he doesn't want to get his head cut off, and he wants to go back. There's a real good emotional point where he wants to go back into his life, and not be a knight. He just wants his life, and what he's been taken for granted. The simple things, like his own horse, and his horse feeding his horse, and that connection there, and that connection with his horse is kind of like his connection with his normal grounded life. up until this point. And I thought that was really neat. I really felt that punch there with that. And it's good. It does make you feel something. And towards the end, this is big spoilers, where he's going to get his head cut off. He keeps going back like, no, but I I'm not, he's like, he does like 5 times. He kind of like, he pulls back. And every time the Green Knight is like, what is this? It got comical. It got comical. Yeah. So if you haven't guessed by now, the beginning of the movie, Green Knight comes into Camelot, and he says, "Hey, one of you, who wants to, who's worthy to take, cut me, and I'll return the favor. Can you live up to your word?" Basically, he doesn't say that, but it's kind of it's there. The subtext is there. And Gawain, he comes up and he's like, "Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it." But he ends up like hacking the Green Knight's head off, and so now he's got it from a year from, like the trailer says, so the year from that, he has to go and cut the head off, or get his head cut off, because if he wants to be a knight, he has to live up to his word, even if it's his life. And the ending in the actual tale, he turns out it's a test, and he passes the test, and it's like, oh well, basically, and they kind of celebrate, and I think the Green Knight ends up being somebody else or something like that. But anyway, he survives. In this movie, big spoilers, you're not sure if he survives or not. It's implied that he doesn't, because although it doesn't show his head getting cut off, it shows, I think the top of a tree stump or something like that, where he's laying his head down on, and the credits roll. But before that, the Green Knight says, "Good, you've lived up to your word. You are a knight. So you're ready to get your head cut off." So, and I was wondering about that ending. Like, I don't know, but I hate kind of ambiguous endings. But after checking out the original tale, like all the way through, I see why he did that. Because, okay, if he shows the guy survives and the Green Knight is just kind of a trick or whatever, and it's all kind of waved off, the rewatchability, I don't think will be as good, because the whole time, the whole thing's just, he's going to survive, and it's a trick. And although there are movies, kind of like the one, the David Fincher one called The Game, where, well, that's big spoilers right there if you haven't seen that movie. I'm just going to leave that alone. But there are other movies where things end up being revealed. Does that affect rewatchability? I don't know. I'll still watch The Game, but I think that might have been one of the reasons why he didn't show how it was from the original tale. He just kind of wanted to leave things, well, he says, "You ready to get your head chopped off?" So it's always that doom and gloom. It's like that reality. Like, no, he's really that's it. He let go, and he's gonna die. But it's the everything leading up to that. It's just the locations they shot at are awesome. I really enjoyed that. There's this part where, and it gets a little dirty, where he's at the guy's house towards the end of the quest, and it's like, oh yeah, the Green Knight just kind of lives up a block from here, and meanwhile the wife is tempting him, and the wife is played by the same actress that is his girlfriend earlier in the movie, that wants to marry him and have kids and all that, which is kind of like the main thing that's keeping him from doing this thing and being a knight and living up to his word, is that his life with this woman the future, possible future with her and all that. And so the guy's wife that is coming on to him real heavily, like they get, they kiss and everything, but he's like, I can't sleep with you. She ends up giving him this green sash, and the green sash is kind of, this will help, this will keep anything from taking your head or killing you, because she really likes him, or she wants him to survive and all that. But it gets so hot and heavy in that scene. They show like he takes care of business, and you see his business on the belt. I like, did we have to show his business on the belt? I don't know about that. That's a little too far. So there are some things that are, some things that might, I think that some of the things keep it from doing better as financially as to a bigger audience, because of, there's that kiss scene, which threw me off track. I'm like, why is this happening? I don't get it. And then there's that scene with the belt. Like, that's, yeah, you're looking at a smaller box office, a little bit more of a niche audience. But being a fan of King Arthur and the Round Table and many movies and stories on that, that's, that's fine. I'll roll with it as long as it's pretty true to canon, close enough. And but again, I think the whole thing saves it. The whole movie from beginning to end. It's really, it's a movie we don't see very much of these days. What's going to happen next? Unpredictable. Instead of, and it's still linear, but towards the end, it jumps. It doesn't get so linear. It kind of branches off, but it's still told in a linear way. And it's still, you don't know what's going to happen. It's unpredictable. So it tells you can still make movies in an ABC way and still keep people in suspense, like what's going to happen. But the music here is top notch. I really enjoyed it. It really set the atmosphere for the movie. The CG is good. Overall, I'll give it a score. It's at least an 8, but I think it's even better than an 8. I'll give it an oof. Yeah, it's like 8.5 out of 10. It's just about a 9. It's just there. I think the only thing keeping it from being a 10 or perfect 9 would be I think would be just adding a little bit more events in it, or another scene, one or two more scenes that induce wonder that the movie brags about so much, in the beginning. But I'd say, it's as far as a star system, I'd say out of 4 stars, I give it 3.5. It's very good movie, and it's one that I wish more movies like these were being made. Maybe they'll make more. That it's hard to hit that. I think that sweet spot of being possibly pretentious or too stylistic and losing your audience, or and not going, not taking enough risk. So it was cool. It was great to see just a movie about a knight and what it means to be honorable and noble, and what that means, and also the nature of our egos to go over the top with, Green Knight says, hey, like, you take my head, I have to take yours. Well, that's ego to say, okay, I could cut you a little bit, or no, you could have cut the Green Knight a little bit, but he cut off the head. So that says a lot about the person's ego, like it's over the top. So I guess that's the point I was getting to. So that's my review of The Green Knight. Finally, sorry it took so long. I've been chewing it over and pondering it, watching a couple other reviews on it, and it's it's definitely one of the best movies of the year for sure. So there you go, my Green Knight review, and thanks for watching. And long days, pleasant nights.